Hello and welcome back to How to Homeschool in High School. If you are new here, welcome, and if you are returning, welcome back. I'm really excited about today's conversation. You are really in for a treat today. We are going to be doing an interview, and we're going to be talking to one of my amazing homeschooling friends who is a teenage entrepreneur. She started a business last year on Etsy, and she is still in high school, which is pretty awesome. And I have been looking forward to this conversation for a very long time. So thank you, Audrey, for being here. But before we start, I just want to shout out a few listeners that I've noticed over the past few weeks. The podcast has definitely grown, and I have you guys to thank for that, because all the listeners and all the support I've been getting for the past few weeks has really meant a lot to me. So I just want to shout out some listeners in Australia who I just think that's so awesome, because Australia is a really long way from here. So if you're wondering how I know that, because it's kind of weird sometimes, but I have this Buzzsprout is my podcasting platform, and they give me like what is it called? Statistics? Yeah. So I can see general locations of people and where they listen. So I've gotten a few listens from Australia, so I just want to shout that out because that's pretty cool. And then also, I can't shout out Australia without shouting out Pittsburgh, because the Pittsburgh area, because you guys have been my most faithful listeners, and I've gotten majority of my listens from you guys. So thank you. The support does not go unnoticed, and I cannot do this without you. So I just wanted to take a moment to thank you all for that. And Audrey, you are one of those, so thank you so much. And now we can get started. We'll start by talking about your homeschooling journey, and then we'll jump into your business, because I'm excited to hear about that as well. So Audrey, could you tell us a bit about yourself, what grade you're in, and how long you have been homeschooling for?
Hi, I'm Audrey. I'm currently in 11th grade, and I have homeschooled my whole life. So starting at age 4, I didn't do preschool. I started with kindergarten,
okay.
But since then I've been homeschooled, and yeah, I've always enjoyed it.
You've always enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. So we've had 2 back-to-back interviews with what I would call veteran homeschoolers. There we go. You guys have been homeschooling for a while. So yeah, and I haven't really asked this straight question before, but because I've done this little mini series on the steps to homeschooling in high school, my first step was discovering your homeschooling why. So I was curious what your parents' why was when you guys started homeschooling. Why did you? And I know you have an older sister. So did she start homeschooling from like kindergarten too?
Yeah. So my older sister, Lydia, she started going to preschool.
Okay.
But my mom said it just didn't feel right. She was just miserable every day that she had to take Lydia to preschool, because something just felt wrong to her about it. And so Lydia didn't even finish the full year of preschool. My mom actually pulled her out and started homeschooling, because she said she just woke up one morning and like dreading taking Lydia. And she said she just had this like revelation, like you don't have to do this. You can teach her yourself.
Wow, yeah.
So she decided, even though she didn't know anyone who was homeschooling at the time, she decided she wanted to try it. And my dad was on board, and so they just started homeschooling, and they've never looked back.
Never looked back,
so.
yeah. That's really cool that revelation happened. That's one of the reasons why I started this podcast, is just to show that it's actually a really cool way to homeschool. I mean, to school, and it's, you don't have to do what everyone else does.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. That was very brave of her, and I'm sure that, I mean, that's made a tremendous impact on all members of your family. But
yeah, definitely.
That's really cool. Yeah. And so you guys have done a bunch of different homeschooling paths over your years for homeschooling. So can you walk us through some of those that you've done?
So, yeah, when we started out my first few years, I just did everything with my sister. We were doing all the same curriculums and coursework. When we started out, it was mostly using book curriculums.
Yeah.
And when I was younger, we went to like a homeschool co-op once, I think it was every other week.
Okay.
So we did that for a few years. And then we joined Classical Conversations when I was in, I believe, 5th grade.
Cool, yeah.
And that is also mostly book curriculum.
Mm-hmm.
And that's meeting once a week in class. And we did Classical Conversations up until this year, 11th grade for me. So, and now we're in a different homeschool co-op, which is also once a week, but it's only 3 classes. So, that's just part of my schoolwork. And then I have other subjects that I do apart from that. So.
Yeah. Cool. And so for your 9th and 10th grade year, you did CC.
Yes.
And did they supply all of your curriculum, or do you do some independently?
So with CC, you have 6 subjects.
Okay.
And so mostly that was most of our schoolwork.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't have to do their math.
Okay.
So I did do their math, which is Saxon math.
Yeah.
I did that last year, but my first year of high school, I did a different curriculum.
Mm-hmm.
So you can kind of do your own thing for a few of the subjects in CC, but it does supply you with a complete curriculum. You can use
that's cool.
just what they provide.
I know, because we talked about CC briefly last week with Annie and Dora, because they did CC for a little while there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and so I asked them this question, but I ask it to you too. Is CC like very rigorous, or would you describe it as rigorous, or would you describe it as not like that much, just kind of normal?
I would definitely say it can be challenging.
Okay.
It's much more rigorous than the co-op that I'm in now.
Okay.
For sure. Mm-hmm. And also I think more than public school.
Yeah.
Definitely. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there is quite a bit of work, quite a bit of memorization, mm-hmm. which can definitely be a challenge for a lot of people. So,
yeah, definitely. We don't do a lot of memorizing in our day-to-day life, so we have a phone.
Yes,
which
that's
is
so
partially
true.
like a blessing, but also not so much, because I feel like we don't really understand how much we can do with our minds. So
yeah,
that's cool. And Annie was explaining to me the whole, I don't know if this was in a different discussion we had, but the whole pegs and the, like memorizing things when you're young, and then when you're older, you get to understand what that means. Something like that. I don't know. Was that CC? I feel like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a lot of like when you're younger, they teach you, they just really stretch your memory and like exercise your memory. Like there's a 13-minute long timeline song that you have to memorize by the end of the year. Mm-hmm. And, you memorize all the presidents, you memorize, just all the multiplication tables, and there's just so much history. Like all of your work pretty much is memory.
Wow.
But then when you get older into like middle school and high school, that's when you start to apply the things that you've learned in different subjects. And it's not all just memorizing, it's using that and understanding it. So that's
really cool. So you have that, in your back of your mind your whole life. Which
it's very helpful. It's come in handy for me.
Yeah, I bet. And then didn't you guys have to draw the world without, like from memory, was that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, in 7th grade, you learn to draw the entire world and label it from memory.
Wow. No help. Like you're doing it all from memory.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely could not do that anymore. It's not still up there in my brain.
But I do bet you have an understanding of where countries are, though.
Yeah, it definitely was helpful. So it was definitely a challenge, but I'm thankful for it.
Yeah. Wow. That is quite an accomplishment, honestly. I mean, how many people can say that they drew the whole world from memory? That's so cool. Okay, so you did CC for the first years of... So you seem to like to do co-ops. Is that something you like, just the co-op environment and the structure of co-ops?
Yeah, definitely. When we decided this year that we weren't going to do CC, we were originally just going to do school at home every day of the week.
Yeah.
But then went to my mom and I was like, I really would like to be part of a co-op. So we did find another one because it's just nice to connect with other people your age at least once a week.
Yeah.
You know? So
yeah, for sure. I think it's like it's a natural plug-in to your homeschooling community. Like we have to go a little bit more just to get involved in things.
Yeah.
Because we can easily go a whole week without seeing anyone but you know, my sister, which is fine. Sometimes you need a break, but it's definitely nice to have co-ops, to have like that, you know, friend group that you can go to every week. So cool. That's really nice. And so what does a typical, I know this, I always say this is a very hard question because every day looks different, but if you had like, what's your typical week look like for you this year?
Yeah. You know, honestly, my day-to-day routine doesn't change much.
Okay.
It is, so on Mondays I have co-op.
Yes. Okay.
And then on, you know, every other day of the week, I usually start school between like 7:45 and 8. I always have to start off with the harder subjects because I know by the end of the day, I'm not going to have the brain power
to do
or
it,
the energy or the willpower to get through them. So, you know, I always start off with like my science and my math and Spanish because for me, those are not my strong suits. So I get those out of the way and yeah, I'm usually done with school around 2 or 3.
Nice. Yeah. That's a nice structure. I feel like this year, for some reason, my structure has just like dissipated. I don't know when that happened, but now it's like I don't really start at a specific time. And actually, we've never have before, except when we were younger. When we were older, it kind of just depended on the day. So now I'm kind of just hearing you, and I'm like, yeah, I probably should get a more structured time start because I don't know. I've just been feeling it lately, but that's nice. I like your structure. Yeah, do you have some favorite things about homeschooling? Serious, fun, just things you like about it?
I mean, there are so many things that I love about homeschooling. It's hard for me to just pick a couple of things. Yeah, one thing is definitely just the flexibility, being able to go places as a family that normally we wouldn't be able to go to during the school day or you know, even like family vacations we can go in September or you know, sometime of the year that most kids are still in school, so it's not as crazy
busy.
And that's been a huge blessing. And also just being home as a family together every day has definitely strengthened our relationships as a family, and definitely am thankful for that.
Yeah.
Because that's completely come from homeschooling.
For sure. I totally agree. It's one of my favorite parts. I really do feel like we've grown closer together being homeschooled. So, and I think I mentioned this last week, but when I do end up leaving for college or other things, I feel like I really took advantage of the time I had with my family. So yeah, and then we also have you ever felt as though you're missing out on any opportunities because you're homeschooled?
Honestly, now I can say absolutely not.
Yeah.
When I was younger, like in middle school, I'd say the only thing that I felt like I was kind of missing out on is having like a best friend, like someone that you're super close with, that you see every single day. But true. Then I realized as I got older, like my siblings are those friends for me.
Yeah, there you go.
Because I'm with them all the time, and I'm not saying we always get along because that's not the case. But we are very close, and we have a bond that I know a lot of siblings don't have. And I think it is mostly because we were homeschooled. So.
Wow, that is really true. I like that a lot. Yeah, I mean, I guess I think that thought has crossed my mind before, especially coming from public school, because you see your friends every day for majority of the day.
Yeah.
And I've never thought about that, but that's so true, because your sibling, like, I do feel like my relationship with Tessa has definitely grown, and at a deeper level than it would have ever had we've been separated like majority of the year.
Yeah.
And different for majority of the day. So true. Thanks for sharing that. And then, do you have any advice? I love this question because I just love hearing what people have to say about it. Do you have any advice for homeschoolers, especially those in high school?
I would say use this opportunity to really grow yourself. Just use it to foster self-discipline.
Yep.
Because it is a great opportunity for you to take the initiative to really almost educate yourself. There's a lot of independence, I guess, that comes from homeschooling. And you can go two ways. Like, there is a temptation to kind of slack off because you're not really being held accountable to anyone other than your parents. And for some people, that's not like, it's not as much of a consequence to them if they fail when they're just homeschooled. But this is an opportunity, I think, to really push yourself, to strive harder, to work hard, and to learn to the best of your ability. So.
That is really true. That is so true. And also, I feel like you learn more about yourself and the way you work and what, I don't know, what distracts you the most, and just in your workforce, because you're going to, be on your own, managing your time to get things done. And that's exactly what you're learning how to do when you're homeschooled. Yeah. So you don't have someone telling you what to do 24/7. So you have to kind of figure it out on your own. Yeah.
It helps you develop skills that you'll need for the rest of your life. So.
Yeah, there's definitely, I totally get what you said about some kids. I'm tempted to do it too. And I think one of the best experiences I have had is doing online classes where I'm accountable to another teacher, because even though it is so great having a ton of flexibility with mom being the only one administering any assignments, but then you lose some of that accountability and oh my goodness, someone else is grading this besides my mom, like my handwriting needs to be good enough,
Yes, that's
so
true.
I feel like that's one of the greatest experiences too, but also you still have to manage your own time with those classes as well. Yeah, you just have some outside accountability too. So, and homeschooling is not for everyone in that sense, but co-ops and online classes will help you with that as well. So
yes, definitely.
Cool. That's some really great advice. So thanks for sharing again. All right, so now we'll jump into your business, and I have been looking forward to this question. How did you start just walk us through what it is and what you go. Oh my goodness, I can't speak today. Okay. We'll jump into your business side of the episode, and I'm really excited to hear. Just tell us a bit about what your business is and how you started. Like, what was the idea that started it all? I'm just really curious.
So I sell polymer clay earrings. Okay. And I've made some necklaces, but mostly I make charms that are shaped like food. Which is, it may sound weird, but it's really fun. Yeah. So I didn't even know that food jewelry existed, honestly, until... I don't think
I really did either, yeah.
Until, like, last fall, probably. Okay. I just kind of wanted to start an Etsy business because I thought it'd be a fun way to make some money to put away for college.
Yeah, that's true.
So originally, I've always been artistic, and I was originally thinking about maybe starting a business making customized cards, like birthday cards and thank you cards. So I was thinking about doing that, kind of playing around with the idea. But then one day, my cousins came over. They're like 5 and 7, and we were just playing with some polymer clay. And I started making some food for my cousin's Barbie dolls.
Okay.
And I was
This is
just
so
like,
fun.
this is really fun.
Yeah.
And so I decided to look up on Etsy, like, does anyone sell, like, play food made from clay or doll food from clay? And I discovered that people actually make food charms for jewelry.
Mm-hmm.
And I just fell in love with the idea and started making them.
That's awesome.
And I opened my shop in December.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's just been a ton of fun. So
Wow. That is a really cool story, honestly. And I love how it was your cousins.
yeah,
You know, like just playing
Yep.
with them that gave you the idea. Wow. And they're incredible. Like each one of them is a work of art, truly. Especially,
you.
wait, I'm gonna butcher this word. Charcuterie. Is that what it is?
Mhm,
Okay, good.
mhm.
Thank you. I can never say that right. The charcuterie board. How long does that take you to do? I'm just curious.
I don't know. People always ask me like how long it takes to make, a pair of earrings, and it
Mhm.
depends on what I'm making,
That's
and how
true, yeah.
intricate it is. But honestly, I've never timed myself, and I totally lose track of time when I'm doing it because it's just it's very relaxing to me,
Mhm.
and I have a lot of fun doing it. So, I mean, I think those ones probably took me at least an hour
Okay.
to make.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, there's so much detail in that. It's crazy. And then, so I'm guessing this is not really an obvious question, but how has homeschooling enabled you to open your shop?
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't be able to do it if
That's
I was
true.
not
Yeah.
homeschooled. Because I was just thinking about this. Like, if I spent all day at school and then came home and had a bunch of homework to do,
Mhm.
like, when would I have any free time to run my shop?
That's so true. Yeah.
And there's a lot of time that goes into it.
Mhm.
Because, you have to make the earrings. Then you have to take pictures of them and list them. And
Well, you
then
also
you
have
have
to-
to
yeah.
make posts on social media to advertise them.
Yeah.
So it's it's a process,
Mhm.
but I have a lot of free time to do it because
Yeah.
I'm done with my school by 3:00, and then
That's
I
true.
can work on my earrings until, as long as I want until
Yeah.
I go to bed.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
That was actually my next question, but how do you balance doing schoolwork and running your business? So is there like a rhythm?
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever post in the morning and then do schoolwork or something like that? I don't know. Then how long has that taken you to kind of get a hang of?
Yeah, it kind of varies
Mhm.
depending on the day, depending on what I have to do for my shop that day. Like, if I have new earrings to list, or if I have something I want to post, like on my Instagram story or something.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll do that in the morning. But for the most part, I try to just get all my school out of the way and then focus on stuff for my shop.
Mhm.
But I will, like, between school subjects, a lot of times get on, like, Etsy and, just make sure I don't have any orders or messages,
Mhm.
and, check out my stats and see how different listings
Yeah.
are doing and what I can do to improve them. So I kind of, like, weave it into my school day somewhat, I guess.
Yeah, that's
But
true.
I don't work on it much until
They're
the
done.
afternoon.
Yeah.
So.
I try to do that with the podcast because I know
Mhm.
I'm not as like you're very active. I love seeing all the stuff that you post on Instagram and
Thank
everything.
you.
You're very active on Instagram, so I'm not as active, but still I'll check like podcast stats in between
Mhm.
math and history or something like that.
Yeah.
But if
Yeah.
I get sometimes I get on rap. It's dangerous if I do that because then I'll get
Mhm.
on like, oh, I need to check this or I need to do this, and then all of a sudden I've spent 20 minutes. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
it just
now I'm
sucks you in.
stalling. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, it's that took me a while to get a hang of, and I'm still not quite there yet. Just trying to figure out how to balance it,
Yeah.
especially if I don't edit podcast episodes before the day I'm supposed to release them. Then it's like hours of my school day is just sucked down into editing. But
Yeah.
I haven't quite. You seem like you've gotten a hang of it. I'm not quite there yet, and I had since November.
Yeah. Well, at the same time,
Yeah,
with homeschooling, it's so flexible. It doesn't.
that's true.
It's
yeah,
not a big
yeah.
deal, really. Like, you could work on your podcast all day until noon, and then not do school until
Noon.
the
Yeah.
afternoon or
Mhm.
evening
Yep.
even. So, yeah.
Yeah, it blends very well with having these, what would you say, businesses or other things. Like, I don't know what you call podcast, I guess. But yeah, it blends very well with doing that sort of thing.
Yeah,
and it just
does.
opens so many doors. And I think that's a very common thing people don't really understand, because they think homeschooling might be more restrictive than public schooling. And I think that's a really honest, a valid question, because if you don't think about it, then it does, you're like, well, you're only at home all the time, it kind of sounds restrictive, but you're able to do these really cool things too. Yeah. Okay. Do you see any benefits to running a small business in high school? Like, have you learned anything about yourself or about, how you work, I guess, through this?
Well, I think the biggest impact that it's made on my life is it's really opened my eyes to what an amazing group of people God has put in my life, like family, church family, friends, like everyone that I know has been so supportive of me in this. And, whether it's just following me on social media, people share my posts, people tell me all the time that they like my work, and it's just so encouraging. And I'm just really thankful for how it's made me more thankful for all the people in my life. So
that is so true. You have so many wise thoughts today. Thank you so much for sharing all. That's so true. And I have to say, I've experienced the same thing. And it's beautiful to have those opportunities to see how blessed you are. And I just think, through business or through anything that you do, and you have such a supportive group of people around you, it really shows you. And that's beautiful. So thank you for sharing that. That's so good. Yeah. And then, do you have any advice for anyone, especially teenagers, who think they want to start a small business, besides like start being homeschooled too? Yeah.
I would say make sure it's something that you're going to love. Because if you start something, no matter what it is, there are going to be days that you don't feel like doing it. You don't feel like working on it. But if you never feel like working on it, you're not going to do it, because it's your own business. You're the only one responsible for it.
That's true.
Like, I think if I had started a card business, I don't know if I would have even enjoyed it, honestly. I think it would have gotten old for me very quickly, because it's not something I enjoy as much as working with clay. Like, I just love working with clay. So if you're going to do something that's going to require a lot of time and energy, make sure it's something you love.
That's so true. I mean, you're pouring so much of your life into it, and your time, your free time.
Yes.
That it's so much more enjoyable when you love doing it. Yeah, so I will link your Etsy website in the show notes, and then you have an Instagram page. And what's your username for that?
It's just Sunrise Hill Boutique.
There you go. Well, I guess you never said the name.
Oh, that's true. I never did.
Yeah, we probably need Sunrise Hill, right?
Sunrise Hill Boutique.
Yeah, perfect. Yep. And then, do you have a Pinterest board too?
I do. Okay. I have a Pinterest account, which is just called Sunrise Hill Boutique. And then Facebook, a page on Facebook. Okay. Yeah, it's the
Sunrise
same name.
Hill.
Yeah. So
I will link all of them down there, because why not? I'll link all of them. You. So what? The actual website, then the Instagram, Pinterest, Facebook, and I'm missing one. No, I'm not.
I think
I got it all. Okay, good.
Yep.
Oh, perfect. And yeah, Sunrise Hill Boutique. And then you told me why you put it on your Instagram, why you named it. Is it just because your view out your window?
Yeah, so my desk is right at my bedroom window. And in the morning when the sun rises, it's right out that window, and I can just see it over the hill. So
that is beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just my mom actually came up with the name, and I was like, it's perfect. It fits very well. So
perfect. I love your page. So make sure to check that out. You will love all her earrings, and you can see what we were talking about with the charcuterie board and the macaroon. I mean, they're exquisite. So yeah, definitely keep it up, because I know so many people are loving it. My sister loves her Wait, does she? Yeah, she has sushi earrings too. Those are like, she loves sushi. Those are like her favorite things. So, and I love seeing our friends wear them too. They're just so pretty and they're so fun. And I don't know. I never thought food earrings, but yes,
I know.
Food earrings.
I
Yeah,
know. I didn't even know they existed until last year, and now.
Yeah, I mean, why not?
They're so fun.
Yeah,
they're so fun.
And do you only make food, or do you do other stuff too on request?
I have made earrings that are not food. You know, just different colors. Like I'll marble, different colors of clay, and just do different designs. Like I've done some like knit designs. Like I made little winter hats last winter.
Yeah.
Yeah, but mostly I stick to food, and I think I'm going to keep focusing on that because they tend to sell better. I think people are more interested in them. Also, I had a request this past week to make chihuahua earrings. Not just a chihuahua wearing a taco costume and sombrero.
Oh my goodness. That's adorable.
That is what I'm currently working on.
Oh my goodness. That is so cute.
Yeah, it's been quite the project.
Yeah, I can imagine. Because, like, you had the taco body and then the head and then the hat, too.
Yeah, so we'll see how those turn out. I may never be doing custom orders again.
Chihuahuas and taco costumes. Oh my goodness. All right, so now we've reached the part of the episode for the question of the week, and we have a question this week. It is, what is the most common homeschooling myth that you have heard, or someone has asked you? I guess you could say it that way too. So I'm trying to think of mine. Do you have one that comes to mind? Sorry.
I don't know if this is a myth, but I think a lot of people think that you're not socialized.
Yeah.
I guess they think that homeschoolers never leave their house and they're just socially awkward. But if you talk to homeschoolers, you can tell immediately that that's not the case, because like we go places.
Yeah.
I've been on an archery team, soccer, basketball, track, like
wow, yeah,
participate in a lot of things, go to church every week. You're around people of all age groups, so I think you can be even more socialized, you know, and have an even greater range of people skills than people who are kids who are just in public school around other kids their age. So.
That's so true. There's value in learning how to talk to adults and toddlers and elderly people, which is what we get to do. And we also get to choose the social environment we put ourselves in.
Exactly. So
if it's a toxic environment, we can choose to remove ourselves from that and go somewhere else, which I think is such a blessing.
So true.
So so most common homeschool myth. For me, I don't know. I'm doing research for a speech we're doing this week, and one of the things that has come is that homeschoolers are like don't make good citizens, which is interesting. Not that they don't, but they like, I don't know. But it turns out that homeschoolers are like they're higher vote, like they vote more than public schoolers. I don't know, like they're more active in political, like voting and petitioning and what is it? What are they called? Not riots, but like marches, I guess. Protests. There you go. Not riots. But I just thought that was interesting. That's one of the things that I don't know. It comes to mind with people that homeschoolers are somehow disconnected from America or their country. I don't know.
Well, when you're talking about that, how homeschoolers don't make good citizens, it made me think of something else. I've also been doing some research on homeschooling recently for a paper I'm writing. And I read this one article, and the author said he believes that parents who decide to homeschool their children are sabotaging the public school system, or at least, doing it a disservice because they're not. He thinks that they should keep their kids in school and just try to work to reform public schools if they don't like the way that they work. But
that's interesting.
I would say parents actually I mean, they have a right to educate their own kids, and I don't think that it's wrong for them to exercise that right. I think parents more have a responsibility to their kids to provide them with the best education they have, above a responsibility to the public school system. So, yeah, I guess I would just say, if you're a parent listening, don't let anyone tell you that you're doing something wrong.
That's so true, yeah.
You know, that you're not supporting the public schools the way you should be, because your kids come first.
Yeah, or that you're not qualified to teach them.
Yeah, that's another thing. Yeah, but that's been proven. It's been proven that homeschool kids can still do really well in school, even if they're being taught by their parents, because they score even higher than public school kids on average on like SAT tests. So yeah,
you know, it's often comes down to who has the right to educate. You know, the government. Is that the government's job, or is that the job of the parent? And a lot of homeschooling parents, that's the reason they start homeschooling, so they believe that it's their job to decide how to educate the children. And I guess a lot of people, I don't know, a lot of people don't think that they actually have that decision, like to choose public school or homeschooling or something else, you know. So that's a really cool way that parents can exercise that right. It's just deciding. And yeah, it's one of our gifts of being an American, is in America we can homeschool, and other countries as well. Thank you, Audrey, so much for joining us and for sharing such great wisdom. And I am encouraged by just hearing you. So I hope everyone else out there listening is also encouraged. And make sure to join us next week for our next episode. We're going to be doing a round table, which I am looking so forward to sharing with you all. It's going to be really fun. And yeah, Audrey's business accounts are linked below, so make sure to check out what she's doing there. It's pretty incredible. And yeah, follow us on Instagram, email any questions, and that will be discussed at the end of the episode as well with guests or just me. Yeah, so thank you all for listening, and we'll see you all next week. Bye.